what I was thinking today? Yesterday, actually, I watched the documentary about infinite, and it was about the people who are studying infinity, like in maths
Mm,
and physics. And then it's actually such a beautiful one. I should send you the link. I don't remember the exact name. And
okay,
there's,
send me.
yeah, and actually, then it took me to the thinking of, did maybe Ashi ever thought, I want to reach the infinity? That's why, that we need to find this thing and speed things up. Did she ever get such a rabbit hole that's, and, from there you are like, okay, how do we work backwards from this? So I need to find a way to cover this infinity there.
That's funny.
Mm. I guess yours was more like a childhood, right? Like that you always had the interest. Then maybe then taking it from there, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Let's say on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is the beginning of the humanity and 10 is Star Trek.
Mhm.
Where do you think we are today?
I actually have not watched Star Trek, so
Okay, your analogies and a couple of stuff were hinting me towards that, but I think you have an overall idea about.
yeah. So in terms of, I think we are almost there, but we are looking into more interplanetary missions. So with Spaceium, what we are thinking is where we have this network of in-space refueling stations. So the spacecraft can come to our station, dock, and then once they dock in the long term, we can inspect their spacecraft, swap hardware, but that's a very, very like 25-year long-term mission. But spacecraft refueling is the first stop to get in there. It's the first stop to getting into this whole interplanetary missions where we go between planets. So I think Spaceium's a huge part of that whole infrastructure and building that network.
Yeah, I feel like then in a way that if you imagine the 10 is the post scarcity, that we have everything, we don't have any fuel constraint, we don't have the constraints that we have today, then we already have, on my mind, we are already close to maybe 2, 3 on that scale. Like, because we had so far the problem of going there, right? Like that
Mhm.
launching there. And then now it seems like we kind of figured this out, like at least good enough to take it on from the hands of monopoly people, like in terms of like you can have other companies, private companies that's taking care of it. And then Spaceium is gonna move the bar to even a higher way because now we are gonna tackle the infrastructure up there, a part of the infrastructure, which is gonna allow us to stay there. Then maybe then you can just help us understand what is the big feature in your head that the dream of the dream, and then where does Spaceium come in, and then just
Mhm.
walk us through the big picture so that we can break it down to today. Okay, what do we
Mhm.
do now? How do we take it step by step?
Mhm. So the big picture, both me and my co-founder has, like we are dreaming of a day when we have this whole network of refueling stations or service stations, we like to call it, just like here on Earth. And we have spacecraft, and then you look through the window, and then there's our service station where they just come, dock, and refuel. But that's going to be like a really long-term plan when that actually becomes a reality.
Mm-hmm.
I think where we are heading right now and how the space industry has been growing over the last couple of years, we are very, very close to actually building that infrastructure. There's so many companies that's coming up building really important infrastructure for space missions. Refueling is one, energy, and then there's OTV companies, there's companies that's going to moon and looking into human space stations, human habitats. So I think we need all those companies to come together to build this whole infrastructure, because that's the only way we all can work together, right? Because if we are just building a refueling station, but we are not working with anybody else, who are we building this for? So I think space industry have to work more closely moving forward, because there's so many companies coming together. So it's very important all of us just have one goal in mind in terms of building this whole infrastructure. But the companies could have different goals, obviously, where they want to end up in the future. But as the space industry, space economy, it's very important we are all working together to be an interplanetary species or go outside of Earth to be able to travel.
But actually, I haven't worked in the space industry, but I was lucky enough to interact with a couple of people. My observations and my reading from afar, space industry is one of the most collaborative one, right? In terms of really openness and exchanges, and then to realize the things in a way that it's more about the big picture rather than okay, we achieved this, or like I got it there. Then how do you see it? Well, in your actually, when I take a look at your background, you kind of was born into this, and then you're going from that track at the same time. Did you ever maybe exposure in the YCombinator with through the other companies that you could get a sense around the differences between space versus the rest? Because in my actually mind is always like space and the rest.
Yeah, there are a lot of differences, but something that I really learned from YC is whatever you like, there's so much we can learn from other industries. And YC, like how YC works is there's like bunch of crazy people working for like total different goals, but they're all working so fast. And we go to group office hours and then everybody's like, we signed this and we have this customer and our MRR or ARR is like $1 million. So we are still doing group office hours with the small group that we had. Like we are still doing monthly group office hours, and every month, like they're just reaching new heights, and it's such an awesome environment to be in because so you just want to do better. So it's just kind of like everybody's like pulling each other up while also improving. And we only have 2 space companies in our small group, and then we have quantum computing, and then we have AI, we have hardware, but we are all kind of learning from each other, even though we are not from the same industry, if that makes sense. And it's such an awesome place to be in.
And actually, then it's a very good pressure cooker, right? Like in a way, but it's not a zero-sum game at the same time. Even if you're in the same industry, targeting even similar profiles, that you're always guys open to each other and with the exchanges. But that actually that broke my mind, the remarkable pace you and your co-founder have. Like, my goodness, I have worked with really various companies, various teams, and since I observed this 2024 when you popped up on the launch list. And ever since then, I've been following your story, as you know. And really, how did you pull this? Like, maybe let's start literally from what did you need to build? And until now, you're still 2 people.
No, we are 4 people now, and then we have an external software team. So just in the mechanical side, we are 4 people. So, but our first mission was just 2 people, and yeah, it was a very crazy ride. It was crazy. We built the whole, like, from idea to launch, idea to integration. It was 5 months, and then it was a crazy ride.
Okay, then let's try to imagine. Can you help us understand what exactly you're building? And if we need to break it down, I have a feeling that you can also help us understand the timelines you have in mind, like what exactly you're building and what are the critical components of the mechanism, the system that you are building. And where are we today with your very first launch? Like, which milestone did we achieve? And then, like, an onion layer, how are you planning to build this moving forward?
Our timelines are very short. Like, it's like a couple of months before we have to reach the next milestone, because that's how we like to move. We don't like to spend too much money and then work on anything for too long, because we want to test, we want to iterate, and we want to get the data and then improve. So that's our mindset. So I guess that's why we move very fast. And that being said, we also learn a lot by doing how we operate.
Mm-hmm.
So we are building fully automated service stations in space. So we are starting with refueling because that's where we see the biggest need in the space industry. Everything we do is based on our customer feedback. We don't build anything and then go to our customers to sell it to them. We actually get feedback from customers. It seems like such a normal thing to do, but that's something a lot of people miss. So we always get feedback from our customers, and then we build, we iterate, and then we get feedback, and then we improve. So we have a really strong customer base, as well as future potential customers as well, who's looking to get fuel from us in the near future as well as in the long term.
Actually, this problem that you're tackling is such a big problem. I have a feeling it's such a big enabler, right? Because NASA also started to request for a solution for this thing, like just come and solve it for me. Can you maybe then come one step more and then help us see, okay, we made it there. And then what were the other problems that we are still trying to figure out? And why did you pick this one? Because every quest starts with somewhere. Most of the times we go like zigzags and then spirals, and then we end up in the problem that today we are tackling. I have a feeling that you guys also got a lot of guidance from your customers when you're speaking with them. And maybe in your head, if you just do kind of like the prioritization of the problems and then how big the fuel problem is for someone who is not so knowledgeable about space.
So just think of Earth before we talk about space. So how do we travel on Earth? Like, we can't go far without having fuel, right? But that's exactly what's happening in space. So we have OTV companies and other spacecraft. They have very limited amount of fuel that they carry from Earth. And their spacecraft still works perfectly, but they simply run out of fuel. So that's such an engineering constraint right now. And that's what we are supplying in orbit. The reason why we decided to solve this problem, one thing, me and my co-founder, we love space. We grew up wanting to go to space, wanting to be an astronaut. And we were both building high power rockets and rocket engines. And something that we came across over and over again was we can't build this payload structure, or our propulsion system's not good enough. And we were like, oh my God, this is such a big constraint. And even before we started Spaceium, we went to our customers to understand how they do it in the industry, because as a small team, if we can't do it, and if we can't, we were working with multiple scientific labs to put their payloads into our rockets to send it to different altitudes to get data back. And constantly, I was a propulsion team lead, and I had to constantly talk to our payload team to be like, guys, listen, I cannot, our propulsion system cannot handle this amount of payload. And my co-founder, he was a structural lead, and he was also the captain. So we always had this issue, right? Constantly. And we're like, oh my God, how do people do this? How do big space companies tackle this problem? And then even before, we even incorporated Spaceium, we started talking to customers. We knew there was a problem, but maybe we thought, okay, maybe there's a way they do this. But no, just like our small team, even the big companies had the same issue. They could not take as much as payload they wanted to. They could not go further, and all their missions were constrained. And you're like, why is no one doing anything about this? And when we started Spaceium, it was the best time to do it, because the space industry was also growing exponentially. And there were more launch vehicles coming up, more space companies coming up, more OTV companies, and more satellites getting launched constantly. So okay, we have to solve this problem. If you want to grow space industry, if you want to be a multi-planetary beings, how are we going to get far? How are we going to even carry more payload? And we can't, it's such a big constraint. So we have to solve this, and that's when we started.
Excellent. It's not so far away from infinity.
Yeah.
You want to go further and further. Yeah. Actually, over there, then just to give a little bit of perhaps context, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when a rocket launch takes place, the 80-90% of it is fuel, right? Yeah, and then we can now take it from here, and then today, but also all the design, everything is done around it, and everything is about how are we gonna put this up there, and how is this thing is gonna survive there for 5, 10, 20, as long as it's possible. So it's actually then tomorrow Ashi comes and says, hey, you can refuel actually, then all of a sudden that changes such a big ecosystem if the equations change, then maybe can you little bit overall help us understand like what's happening? Like why is it bigger than many other would just, okay, fueling, great. Okay. But it's actually bigger than this.
It is way bigger than that, because when I talk to our customers, I constantly have these conversations with our customers, and refilling is such a big enabler for their missions. Like now they can stay in orbit for longer because they have a fuel supply. They don't have to carry all that fuel from Earth. And once their mission is done, they can just keep reusing the same spacecraft for like more times. And it just totally changes the mission profile that they had like planned. So that's what work you're enabling.
But then wouldn't that push people then to say, hey, if I have a way to survive and refuel, then actually I can be a little bit more agile in the way that I develop. I don't need to be super perfect. Then I can just try to find a way, because in the long term, your mission is not only refuel, but also help them solve some technical issues, help them to get help over there, like a station that you go, you dock,
Exactly.
and yeah. So then, how would then this change the entire way they approach building? Because you kind of like go back to revisit, and then okay, we used to do this. Actually, this is solved. My biggest constraint. Now I can start designing in a different way.
Exactly. Like you are like spot on. Because right now how spacecraft are built, like they have to be 100% perfect. They have to work. And if they don't work, there's like really, like they just have to send another spacecraft, right? But with Spaceium, like in the beginning, they can refuel, but eventually once they come to our station, we'll inspect their spacecraft, but this is like a very long-term plan, because we want to make sure we are tackling the refueling issue first, because that's what our customers are asking for. And then eventually the spacecrafts they don't have to be as perfect as they are today, like, because now we can inspect them and then we can swap hardware if something's broken and something's malfunctioning. And that's just going to open up the whole industry.
Okay, then how about that? I want to play a little bit of a devil's advocate. So, and I say, hey, dear, I see you solved the problem, and now even the design of the rockets changed, and we adapted.
Or spacecraft.
All of us, exactly, spacecraft, and then we adapted, and now, but all of a sudden, we have so much things being sent to space, and because also there's a trade-off between how well you design and build it versus what else I can do once I have the chance to do the upgrades and I have the chance to repair. Because now, exactly, SpaceX is bringing the cost to the floor almost, and then they go really aggressively, exponentially in that path. And the other companies are going to also follow that. Like, what do you might stem from this as an initial adaptation problem? How do you decide how well you want to design the engine, and then like how well do you want to design it and then send it versus the rest is going to be taken care of there? Could we all of a sudden have so many assets up there and debris problem, or could we all of a sudden have the bar, we don't raise the bar, but then everyone tries to build something and then all of a sudden a bit of a chaos rather than a, you know?
I see. We really think with refueling, the debris problem is going to go down, because right now a lot of spacecraft just become debris just after one use, right? Or like as soon as they run out of fuel, or they break down or malfunction, or the solar array gets busted. So debris problem is going to go way down once you have service stations in space. But there will be a lot of spacecraft that's getting launched to space, because now, like you said, now there's a place that they can get fuel and get repairs and get inspected. But still, because we are building a network of in-space service stations, there's going to be multiple locations. So it can get crowded, but I think at the same time, we'll be able to provide those services with the whole network of in-space service stations, because as much as the traffic, like there will be a lot of traffic, but we'll be able to service those spacecraft.
Okay,
If that
okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. On a way, but then I think these are also gonna be good problems to have in comparison to
Exactly.
the
That's
delivering
totally
thing.
a good problem.
Okay, okay. That sounds quite promising. And in the end of the day, why should then somebody care? Like someone randomly on the street walking and had never done anything with the space
Mhm.
sector. Why would they care?
I would think because like they might not have to care about going outside of Earth or become multiplanetary, right? But that being said, we launched a lot of satellites, and the satellites are like we can check the weather and give internet to the Earth. And there's so many use cases with these satellites. And the fact that we can refuel spacecraft that move satellites around or deploy satellites in orbit get so much value. So that's why I think someone on Earth should still care about refilling in space, because eventually it's like a full cycle where you still get benefit on Earth.
And are we allowed to ask what are the ideal locations? Is high orbit, low orbit? Like what locations are the primary goals in your head to build?
Initially, our customers are looking for high energy orbits. So geo is where we are looking in the beginning, and then we'll develop the whole infrastructure, whole network moving from there. But that being said, we do have some conversations with some customers for low energy orbits as well. But that's that's a conversation that we are having. But initially, it's going to be high energy orbits.
Okay. Actually, currently the conversations are started to again pop up with NASA's Artemis project and with Moon, and like in one of the next episodes we're gonna host your friend to discuss how are we gonna build a hotel on the moon.
GRU space.
Exactly. So then how is it gonna affect the launch windows for Mars? Maybe then.
Yeah, actually, we do have some customers looking to refuel on their way to the moon. So we signed that LOI about 2 years ago.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yeah, so we already have customers who wants to go further, and then the value that they get so much from us is being able to refuel on the way, because now they can carry more cargo. And so they don't have to carry all that fuel from all the way from Earth all and to the moon, right? So they just carry cargo instead, and it's such a long ride, and it's very expensive, and it's very they get so much value from being able to refuel. So that's how we think we'll be part of that whole infrastructure as well, because we are not just looking into refueling in high end, like in geo, just orbital transfer vehicles or other spacecraft. So we are also looking to build this whole network where spacecraft can refuel on the way to moon as well as Mars eventually.
In that picture, which one excites you the most?
I think both excites me, because I feel like moon might be short term goal. I'm not talking about short term in the sense like next year, but it could happen within the next 5 to 10 years, and then Mars could be more long term. But I think both excites us, because we are going to be such a big enabler for all these missions. And it's so exciting to even think, okay, when we have missions that's going to moon and Mars, they're going to plan those missions around being able to refuel in space. And because we are stationary and we can store up to multiple metric tons of fuel, right now our technology can handle up to 30 metric tons of fuel, and that'll increase in the future. So that's why we think we can enable so much of these missions. And imagine you build a company, and these really amazing multi-planetary missions will be planned around what you can provide to them.
Mm-hmm. That's why I find it like fascinating what you're working on. And can you also give us a little bit of context around perhaps what are we comparing versus what? Like space or without Spaceium today, this is how it goes. With Spaceium, as of, I don't know, 2 years onwards or 3 years onwards. And this is going to be the value they are going to be receiving. Perhaps you can just compare in terms of percentage or in terms of like bake figures, just to give an idea.
I again go back to how we work on Earth, right? So just imagine how, like, before the highways were made on Earth, like how did people travel? Like, it was very inconvenient. I mean, I wasn't there obviously, but back in the day, I assume it was very inconvenient. People couldn't get anywhere, and it was very expensive. So that's exactly how it's working right now in space. It's one-time spacecraft, one-time mission. You just keep sending more and more spacecraft. They can't go further. They can't carry more payload. So it's going to be, so once we have the service stations, it's just going to be like how we have Shell and all these service stations here on Earth where you go to get fuel. And at the same time, you can get an inspection done to see if you have like proper tire pressure, right? So that will be the same idea in space.
Yeah, yeah. It's just that from the point of, for example, I can either build it so robust and perfect as we spoke and then launch it, or I can find a very fine balanced ratio, like place. In a way, I build it. It doesn't cost me as much as it used to cost, time, money, and resources. And then in that, even there, I think would that be like, are we gonna half it? Are we gonna like, are we gonna gain more on the time part, or are we gonna gain more on the resources part? Like, how do you define it? Do you know what I mean? Like, which one is better?
It depends on the spacecraft, honestly. I do have customers who's really saving up on time because time is such a critical thing for a lot of our customers, and they can't wait another year to get a launch window, or like if something breaks down, they can't, like if they run out of fuel, they can't wait another 2 years, right? To build the whole spacecraft, go through the whole process and to launch. And so time is one of the main critical things. So it's like you're looking at like saving about 1 to 2 years. And also in terms of how much money they save, time is money, because building another spacecraft is really expensive. Again, it depends on the spacecraft. So like spacecraft could range from a couple of $1 million to hundreds of $1 million, right? But that all depends on what type of spacecraft it is. So that's why I can't give you an exact number, because we have a wide range of customers who wants fuel, like who wants 50 kilograms of fuel each time, to wanting 10 metric tons per mission. So it all depends what their end goal is. Like if your end goal is to go to the moon, it changes compared to somebody who's an OTV company who needs maybe like, let's say 100 kilos of fuel per mission.
Yeah. Your story of the dryer machine and a lovely room was my highlight, honestly. Then from those days, what changed? Like, what happened? How did you guys evolve?
Yeah. So when we first started, it was me and my co-founder. We put everything we had into the company until we had like 80 cents to our names. Like I remember not being able to put gas to the car, and then the car insurance got canceled because we hadn't like paid the insurance for like months at that point, because everything was going into the company to like whatever the small amount of hardware we could get our hands on, we would buy it. And and it was March of 2024. We knew we were going to get evicted in April because we didn't have money for rent, and we applied for like all these like loans of like, you get like same day loan or whatever, and you're like still but we were still.
You started 2023 for the record, correct?
Yes, we started 2023, but from 2020, like we incorporated 2023, but it was a very rough road until like 2024. It was like super rough. Like we were building out of a laundry room, and it was one of the tables, and it was like very small apartment. Me and my co-founder moved into a small apartment, and we had obviously one table, but because we couldn't, like we were echoing. So like one of us would go into the laundry room, and the other one would go into one of the other outside rooms and sit on the ground and then do the meeting, which was really fun because, and we were like, we would still build hardware, and then we would talk to investors, and we like obviously all the answers were like, no, this is not going to work. Like, just, I don't know, get a job or something. But we're like, no, we are going to do this because no matter what you tell us, our customers tell us differently. They tell us that they won't fail. So like, no one believed in us, obviously. But we're like, no, we are not going to give up. So just customers kept believing in us, and they told us how important this is for them. And in March 2024, that's when we had like almost nothing, like 80 cents, and we were going to get evicted. And we applied to YC. It was the fourth time we applied to YC. And we did an interview with our group partner, Brad, in February. It took us usually YC let you know the decision within a day, but I think it was during the other batch. So I think it took us 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it was the longest time ever
in your life.
We could not sleep, we could not eat. We were like, oh my God, what's happening? And one day Brad calls us, and Brad tells us, okay, he wants to talk again. We're like, okay, we goes the call. And then he tells us, okay, guys, we want to invest in you, right? And we were like, okay, we didn't believe, it was like everything was so bad. And the fact that Brad's telling us, guys, we want to invest, okay. And then he repeats. And then we just exploded. We were like, oh my God. We just started screaming. And then Brad was just very calmly just sitting there, let us just take a breath. And yeah, and then everything changed from there. And then from there, we go to SF, we start building, and we decided we want to do the mission, the previous mission we just launched. So we decided, and we built that in 5 months. And now we are here.
But actually, it's so remarkable. At the same time, it showed you how much you want this. Because if Simon goes all in, this is the exact definition of going all in.
Yeah.
And you see, facing sense.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
What do we do now?
Yeah. I remember my co-founder calling me, Reza calling me, and because he went to get, this was way before the car insurance got removed for non-payment. But before that, he wanted to put gas because he didn't have, the car didn't have enough gas to get home. And we were e-transferring, because in Canada we have this system where you can e-transfer between accounts. And we were collecting dollars and couple of cents and putting it one account, so he could somehow put gas for $10 to get home. And it was because we put everything into Spaceium. There was no question asked. We didn't care if we had food or not. Everything had to go to Spaceium. Everything we bought, or it was just survival at that point. We weren't going to let Spaceium die.
Well, one thing surprises me. How come not a single soul from other than YC before that recognized this? Because there are also people who are very knowledgeable about the space, and then they work in the industry, and then they are investors now. Is it because the number of startups are incredibly high right now? Or what was the thing that was missing to let them see your potential, that how much this means to you, and you have the capabilities to build that?
Actually, let me go back. Correction. So we did get smaller checks before YC, but then obviously we ran out, right? It was for the whole year to survive the company. Yeah. So we ran out. So that.
But my surprise is actually that too, because I don't know, if somebody speaks to you, even if before I mentioned I start following you, if you just really dig into the topic, it's not that you are a super sci-fi right now. That was for me the part that I couldn't understand. And then also you are so committed, so determined. What do you think was the missing piece, so that another founder, when they faced with a similar situation, perhaps, looking back, this could have helped, or we could have done this differently so that our message could arrive much clearer, with a better clarity?
I think, I don't know, in the beginning, we were maybe I don't want to say we were slow, but because we were also focusing on customers as well as technology, and because we didn't have enough cash to move as fast as we wanted to. So a lot of investors wanted to see more traction, but there was no way for us to get that traction because
It's a chicken and an egg problem.
yeah, we didn't have money to build. So I guess that's what the problem is. But it's very important not to give up, obviously, because if we had given up, we wouldn't be here. And yeah, we applied to YC 4 times, and each time we got feedback. So we improved on it for the next application. And then we applied again and then finally got it.
Amazing. Like one more time, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That you guys didn't give up. And then you started to build the team. What was the first time? How was the first hire? How did you guys decide? What sort of decisions you made?
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure get somebody who has the same mindset, who's obsessed with space, who's obsessed with their work. So that's how we want to build the team. So we went through like so many applications, and now we have 2 amazing engineers, and they're just amazing.
Did you do any sort of tricks to, I don't know, get their attention or to excite them?
We showed them our warehouse, and they immediately fell in love. Like when they saw the vibration bed, T-Bag, and all the hardware we have built. And this is obviously after our first mission. So we already had prototypes. We already had all the test equipment. We had the vibration bed, and they were very excited about the mission and the vision that we have for the company and what are the steps that we are taking. When someone's obsessed and when they know how fast we move, it really hooks them in, because like the team that we have, like they're obsessed. Like they literally get to the office at 6 a.m. And yeah, they get to the office at 6 a.m. and they don't leave until like 8, 9. And then sometimes they also come on during the weekends. And like, it's their happy place, they just want to be here and then just build cool stuff.
And did you get to know them through common people, or you guys opened the applications and you gave chance to every single application you at least monitored and then pick the calls?
So yeah, we obviously put it on our website and LinkedIn, but the 2 team members that we have, like we knew them from before. So it really helped. So one of them, like we knew how he worked. We knew how obsessed he is with everything. Like he literally cannot get out of the clean room. Like he's just there, like building for the next mission. But obviously I can't talk about the next mission yet, but and then we have the other team member that he's also super obsessed, and they're already working on like our future missions.
And what's your plan with the team formation? How are you handling that part?
So we are looking to hire few more engineers. We are looking for engineers who's willing to be hands-on, who's willing to learn. It's okay if they don't really have expertise, but as long as they're willing to put the hours and learn, because that's all, because what we are doing is so new and we might not even know everything, but that's okay. As long as you are willing to put the hours and willing to learn and you're obsessed with it, like, because you can't teach someone to be obsessed, but you can teach someone to learn something. Like they could always learn new engineering aspects, but they can never be obsessed unless they are like it's actually in them. So that's the people we are looking for always.
Yeah, I think that attitude you can't really teach, right?
Yeah.
I just pictured you and your co-founder in my head. When you guys went together, how did this make things probably faster? But at the same time, did you also sometimes say, I need a break from you today? Like also, like I think in the evening I will go out and then have my dinner on my own. How was the dynamic going on? Because it's stressful times too. It's not rosy, sunny, sunshine days mostly.
Actually, we had worked before, like way before Spaceium, we were working together for a really, really long time. So we were so used to working together for like late hours, like without any sleep for like days. So it was just normal for us to just be stuck in the same place and then just work. It was very normal. Like we never felt stressful around each other or like, oh my God, I need to like get out from you, like get away from you. We never felt that because we worked like that for years. When we were like building rockets, like way before Spaceium, he would always call me or I would always call him and like we would work together because we were both obsessed with space and we won't like, if we have a deadline, we just like nothing else matters. We just go for it. So we had the same mindset. So it was very easy to build a company because we both thought the same way and we had worked together. So we never had any tension.
How long have you guys worked together?
Since 2019. Yeah, since 2019.
Cool. Yeah. That's fun. How did you meet for the first time? It was the college years that when you were in university?
Yeah, we were in a rocketry team and that's when we met. And
through a project that you were...
Yeah, through a project. So at the university, we were building rockets and it was more like a scientific team where we build rockets and we work with other scientific labs and they send us their payloads and we put it on rockets and launch it to different altitudes. So he was the captain. I was a propulsion team lead. He also took care of structures. So as the team leads, you have to work together. And it was like a very easy transition coming from a team to your own startup because like we honestly have never had any tension.
That sounds like a dream team. But probably you guys are intellectually challenging each other, but it's not on a level that it gets personal or it gets...
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like we always challenge each other. Like we always question and challenge but it's never like personal. Because I think when you know the other person and how they work, and also we wouldn't have started the company together if we knew we can't work together, right? At that point, we had already worked with each other for 4 years. So like, it was just doing the same thing, but now for your startup.
But overall on the way, did you ever felt like I'm in the wrong room? Either you pitched it to some people that you got an unexpected feedback, or you got roasted so badly that doesn't really make sense. That do you have some kind of like this outlier story for us to...
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. I want to hear.
Oh my God. There was so many times I was in the wrong room and got like roasted so much. And when people were like, oh my God, this idea is never going to work. And then 5 minutes later, I go to a customer call and they're like, we need 30 metric tons of fuel. And it's just like such a big difference. I don't want to like say any names publicly, but yeah, there were many instances.
What do you think one of the like unspoken and hidden assumption that in the space?
Hidden assumptions that we are going to refill satellites is one hidden assumption, which we are not, because we talk to a lot of satellite providers and they want to send a new satellite every 5 years or so, and it doesn't really make sense for them to refuel. And the real value comes from refueling is being able to carry more payload and move around in orbit, move around in space, go further, and satellites don't do that. So that's a very hidden assumption. So you guys are refilling satellites. I'm like, no, we are refilling other spacecraft who has a propulsion system on board and who wants to go further, carry more payload, and who can actually benefit from moving around rather than like for example, a satellite.
Got it. Actually, this was also... I remember you had corrected me when I had written, because this was what I consumed. And I was so surprised. Okay, actually, then I even, of course, I'm not in the space, but I was not able to distinguish, okay, this is not correct. Because sometimes even references, with solid references, then you come to believe. And today, what sort of things is Ashi consuming apart from work? Like, how do you keep your mind entertained? How do you because at the end of the day, we are human beings too. And there must be some charging. You also refuel yourself too. Your fuel little bit. Oh, like, how is it being handled?
Yeah, space has always been something I love. So I don't really feel like I'm working. I feel like I'm doing something I love, so that's part of it. So, but like burnout could be real. Like when we did our first payload, it was such a strict time frame and it was really rough. But we obviously took a break soon after the integration, 2-day break, but it was still good.
It counts.
It counts. But yeah, I have dogs and yeah, I don't know, just walk them and play with them.
Yeah, but you need to take them out. So it
Yeah,
was
exactly.
giving you some time off and then come back.
Yeah, they're like unpaid interns at this point. So
Oh, this is super really. And also, how do you find a way to give back? Because there are so many folks out there, especially young graduates. Like, do you ever get a chance to interact with them? I can also understand, yeah, you were in a survival mode. Like in survival mode, first you want to yourself survive, but obviously by sharing your experience and your time, like with us, so then you kind of have your voice to be heard on further.
yeah, I try as much as I could, but honestly, I don't have a lot of time. But I guess doing podcasts like this, like, so if there's anybody listening and who wants to be a founder, they like, hopefully they know not to give up. And because I feel like giving up is the worst thing that you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll won't give up and just keep trying.
But also that very much depends on the environment you position yourself in and with whom you partner too, right? Because
Yeah.
if one of you had a little bit of
Given
doubt
up.
about it, imagine that you have to reset everything and then you would start
Yeah.
either go solo or look for another person
Exactly.
still, right?
Yeah, I was just like
Sounds
lucky
so
that way.
easy, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I know even like during first payload and even before we got to YC when things were tough, like if I had a different co-founder, things would have been very different because it's so easy to give up, right? Like it's so easy to say like, I'm done with this. It's just too hard
Mm.
because we hit the rock bottom. Like if there's anything below rock bottom, we hit that. But like when you know there's your co-founder has the same beliefs as you, who's obsessed, and you just keep going. And also you hear feedback from your customers. That's also a big part of not wanting to give up.
But you were also quite intuitive enough to pay attention to what you were hearing there. And obviously, you asked the right questions too, because sometimes it's like, the politician interviews, politician says whatever they want to say, but then you need to take the right insights and sentences from them. Did you ever have such situations when you were talking to the customers?
So with customers, I think sometimes they might not give you exactly what you want, but it's up to you to ask the right questions to better understand their timeline, their needs, what their plans are, and then give them a solution that they actually need. Sometimes they might not even understand, okay, we need refueling, right? So you have to tell them, okay, this is what we are bringing to the table, and this is how we can help, and this is how we can make the whole space industry better. And also, it's never like one-time conversation. You never go to a call and be like, hey, we can refuel your spacecraft. Just let's work together. It's never
No.
never was that. It's like year-long conversations.
Did you reach out to them? Like it's such a simple question, though. Mostly, did you leverage your own network, or you literally did both, cold reach out and
Both
leverage?
cold reach and mostly I always want to learn to better understand what their needs are. And so it's just like a simple conversation to better understand where they're coming from, what are their pain points, what we can do to make it easy for them.
But Ashi, when you try to observe yourself objectively as possible, what do you think makes Spaceium special to tackle this as the best solution provider? Is it because you guys are is it a little bit of like scientific piece is really heavier and much better? Is it all, or is it more like that there were so many rigid way of thinking till now, and then we just fold it apart and then close our ears and eyes and then start from scratch, from the basics, and then like step by step and break it down, like first principles, which probably we did a bit of everything, but which one is the heavier part? Like, what is the brain behind this?
I think it's a little bit of everything, but like you said, it's the first principle. Sometimes we just have to go back and then figure out how can we change this engineering constraint, like what can we do. Sometimes it's such a basic thing and you just build from there. And also the grit, right? Like not wanting to give up, and just that mentality also a big part of it. And it's just a lot of things come together. It's the team dynamic, like co-founder dynamics and how we work. And it's so technical heavy and it's such a big challenge. And how we solve those problems. Like, do we solve it just for the next mission, or do we solve is going to be a great solution over the years? It's like, is it something that's going to be able to survive over the next 25 years, right? So we always look back and go back to our objectives, go back to first principles, and then build from there. So I think that's why we are in a good position.
But also your product trade-offs are not like if you build on a SaaS, like your trade-off is going to disappear in 2 days' time, but then you also pick the right hardware piece. And then you also have the design thinking reflected on the system. Then how do you strike the balance over there? Like when you decide long-term versus a little bit launch?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm always thinking about the long term and short term as well. So we have trade-offs, obviously. Like sometimes it might only work in the short term, but as long as we can adapt in the future with the technology that we have today to make it easier in the future, I think that's a good trade-off to be able to have a very successful mission and test our hardware in the short term. So there are trade-offs, but it's just a matter of what's more important. Is it important to prove it right now and then adapt, or should we make it easier in the future and make it harder in the short term? So it just depends on the hardware, and it depends on the problem, really.
Yeah, and when it comes to your iterations, your experiments, you doing simulations, how advanced are they? Like, are you able to do it mostly on the software end or also hardware part, but very selectively?
So we do it very differently, honestly. We are doing 95% of the tests in-house for our spacecraft. So only thing that we don't have is X-ray for our welds, and we do welding in-house. We do like vibration tests in-house. We have a TVAC. We can do some machining in-house. We do pressure tests, everything in-house. So that's why it gives us so our iteration time is really low compared to like what you see in the industry, because we just do it in-house. We test it, we build it, we iterate. So that's why we were able to do everything in 5 months, but also very less sleep. But something that we are trying to change moving forward. We realize sleep is very important after our first mission.
It's very good. But it sometimes puzzles me to draw the line between where do I take the readily available thing and I don't need to do it in-house versus I go full in-house. Like also define in-house in this, maybe you can also help us understand a little bit what exactly you mean with in-house.
So for an example, if we need a part manufactured, then we have suppliers that we send it to, and then we get the part. Like we are always looking for like really short lead times. And in terms of in-house, that's a lot of the tests are in-house, because that's where we get most data compared to having to wait 2 months, 3 months in a wait list to get access to a vibration bed. So that's why we have those very crucial test equipment in-house. We are not like manufacturing in-house, but eventually we'll start to bring manufacturing in-house as well. But right now, we don't do that in-house. So that's obviously a balance. But as much as we could get more data, the more we we can learn, we try to bring those in-house.
Okay, amazing. I have a feeling that I have been just like asking and asking questions.
It's okay.
And my curiosity doesn't come to an end when it comes to imagining what exactly you are building and how is it going to change really our lives. Probably the part that I would like to go into is now, how does that feel? Like such a simple question, but I just don't want to explain it. How does this feel? Like all of these things, because now we are taking off as well. Like it's still very challenging, I assume, but like, how does this feel?
Yeah, it feels great to build something that's going to change the world. Every day is a challenge. Every day is a new problem, and it's amazing to challenge yourself daily. And with a great team around you, that's even better.
But is there anything that keeps you awake at night?
Oh, yeah, every day.
Okay, okay. I think it's like a computer game. Every time you achieve a level, then the next level comes more difficult. The next level comes,
Yeah.
right?
But yeah, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
And how is your family supporting you?
Oh, they're amazing. They're amazing. Like very supportive, and I'm just they're just building Spaceium.
Yeah, amazing. I think once you have your core support group in place, and then I have a feeling you achieved that now, and then nothing can stop you from now on. Because you have your family, you have your support group, you have your co-founder, other founder friends, and you have such strong IC ecosystem and your dogs. Well, I can only see the reasons why that will take off. I very about it, but then in the end of the day, we are human beings, right? Like this part needs to be there too. And you seem to be a very determined person with a very good heart.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see that will really take off. Is there anything you would like people to think if they haven't watched the entire conversation, what if they had to take one takeaway? What would they need to keep at the top of their heads?
I think it's very important who you surround yourself with, because that's something I really learned during YC and even before YC. But YC was this amazing environment. But if you don't have YC, like, you can still surround yourself with like hardworking people who's solving hard problems, because then you can only it's only just up from there. Because my friends that we have from YC, we talk about a lot of issues. Like, it's totally different industry, like I said before, but very helpful, very supportive, and you just want to help each other. At the same time, you want to move up the ladder, right? So it's like when you surround yourself with like-minded people, it's a very good environment to be in as a startup founder.
It's a good feel. Yeah. Actually, we have a tradition in the end of our podcast. We ask a question from previous founders that they had joined us. And your lucky question comes from Brandon.
Did he know it was going to be me?
No, he didn't know. He didn't know. We just asked him for a question. And for the context, Brandon Saren. So his question is, when does it hurt the most? And what keeps you going?
What keeps me going is the vision of having refueling stations, and when spacecraft go and they can see the station, and they're like, okay, that's a Spaceium refueling station. Now we just go get fuel. So that's the visions what's keep me going. And what hurts the most is, I guess it used to hurt when people didn't believe in us. That was something that used to hurt, and because you are still human, and then you kind of started out yourself. Then now after the whole fundraise, YC, surrounding around all the YC companies, it has obviously changed. Now it doesn't hurt anymore, because you know what you're building is very important. So yeah, that it used to hurt when that happened.
Oh, I totally feel. It was a pleasure talking to you. I so much appreciate your honesty and this unfiltered feelings at the same time. It was really delightful talking to you. I had so much good energy and insights from you. Thank you so much for your
Thank you
time.
so much. Yeah, of course.